My name is Joy Macknight, and I'm Transaction Banking and Technology Editor at The Banker. I'm here today at EuroFinan in Copenhagen with André Casterman, who's Global Head of Corporate and Supply Chain Markets at SWIFT. Thank you so much for joining us, André. It's really nice to have you here. So what do you think are the big pain points for corporates in terms of trade and their supply chains in today's economic situation? And what opportunities are also out there?
So corporates are definitely wishing to continue to work with banks to secure their trade-related payments, to get more financing. But they are expecting banks to become much more agile, much faster in their processing. And one way to address this is to use more technology. We still see a lot of processes that are based on human interactions, human validation of documents, exchange of paper, and this is slowing down a lot of financial processes and, as a matter of fact, also slowing down trade activities. So corporates, certainly the large corporates, are looking at automating, digitizing more and more of those processes, but they definitely want this to be done still together with their banking partners.
Okay, great. And it's been about 2 years since SWIFT and the International Chamber of Commerce put together or set out the rules for bank payment obligation. How great has been the take-up, and can you outline any hurdles that still have to be overcome before there's greater take-up on the corporate side?
So indeed, we embarked on this major project a few years ago, and 2 years ago, in mid-2013, the ICC released the uniform rules for bank payment obligation, thereby introducing a new trade-related settlement mechanism. So at this point in time, we have 20 banking groups that are live on the BPO. That means they have conducted initial transactions with identified corporates, and those corporates are now reaching a number of 50 corporates that have been transacting on the BPO. It's still early days. This is a major transformation for banks, because we are not talking about replacing an existing method by a new method whilst keeping the same processes. No, we are really talking about major transformation of internal processes, legal documentation, new service levels, impacts on the corporates themselves, because they need to agree a new payment term with their counterparties. So all four players, buyers, sellers, buyers banks, sellers banks, all four corners of the transactions are impacted. So it takes time. How can we accelerate this? Well, we see many banks out of those 20 having a much more proactive commercial ambition on this innovation, because they have found a way to position this in their trade portfolio. So banks like Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, UniCredit, Commerzbank have been very actively promoting this and attracting more corporates. We still face regulatory approval of the BPO. This is very uneven. In some countries, the regulators will not care. In other countries, they definitely control the use of trade-related instruments for cross-border flows. So we need to work more to get regulatory acceptance in some emerging markets in order to attract more banks.
Great. And SWIFT for corporates is seeing greater adoption. What more can be done? What more can banks do to encourage their corporate clients to use SWIFT?
So indeed, SWIFT for corporates, this is an innovation that we started 15 years ago. So much more mature in terms of adoption, but it also took us 7 years before reaching an acceptance of this new channel proposition in the corporate to bank space. So we now have indeed 1,500 corporate users on SWIFT, mainly for payments and cash management, but also more and more for other types of flows such as trade and securities. What else can we do? Well, we have done already much in terms of adopting cloud technologies to make it much more attractive in terms of time to market, more affordable in terms of costs, And we also need to complement this with applications from cloud treasury vendors. So working with the leading TMS applications or trade management applications, so that together we can offer corporate users a full cloud experience. We have a high ambition in this space. We want to double our corporate footprint in the next 5 years, and we think we can do that because we see the number of corporates joining, moving more and more to the cloud options such as Alliance Light 2, and we are moving from 150 new corporates per year, that was the average over the last 3-4 years, to an average of 300 over the next 5 years. So very bold ambition in that space.